Hello. So this weekend I went to YCS Pasadena. I went 5-3 in day one. Almost made it to day two, but ended up losing in round eight. So I was X-3 and was not able to make it to day two. I played Ishizu Tear. Going into this event, I didn't know what to expect aside from a lot of mirror matches. Unfortunately, I didn't get to practice very much at all in the mirror match. I was focused mostly on testing the previous week for the regional, and then had some work stuff, so I couldn't really test. So I didn't really expect to do too well, I guess, but I guess I did all right for how much I practiced. The deck list that I made was kind of just thrown together last minute, based on just what little testing I was able to do on DB and locals. But with only like a couple of days before from the time of release of Magnificent Mavens to the actual YCS, it was not very much. So yeah, I'll just go right into the deck list. I played 40 cards, 3 Rhino Heart, of course. He's the best normal summon in the deck. I think much better of a normal summon than Diviner. So I'd max out on him. 3 Sharon, 3 Havness, 3 Merly. Pretty self-explanatory. You're going to be milling a lot, so you want to be able to hit the names that you need. Then for the Ishizu cards, I was able to get these in time, fortunately. So 3 Kelbeck, 3 Medora, 3 Keldo. Yeah, these cards are ridiculous. They should not have been printed. They should not be in the game. They're very toxic, completely overpowered. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. Because like at this event, there were like hardly any rogue decks that I saw. It was all Ishizu tier, some flu players, a couple like pure sprite players. Those are not rogue decks at all. And I saw like one Exosister player and one dude like coping on Drytron, which was sad. Yeah, a lot of decks. So many decks are actually unplayable because of these cards. Yeah. Kelbeck I played 3 of. He's a hand trap in addition to having the effect of mill 5. I opted not to do the blind mill 5 against my opponent if I didn't know what they were playing. But my opponents didn't seem to care. They just did blind mill 5, and they always milled better than me somehow. So that was unfortunate. Medora, yeah, these cards are basically how you win the mirror match. Is getting these in the graveyard early. Yeah, just being able to shuffle any cards into the deck or extra deck is pretty messed up. You can shuffle in your own fusions. You can shuffle your Abyss Dweller back into the deck. You can use them to proc your own field spell effect by shuffling tiers in. And then obviously use them as disruptions to prevent your opponent's fusions from resolving. These cards are ridiculous. And you want to get these in the graveyard as early as possible. And then to go along with the Ishizu package, since they are fairies, of course, 3 Herald of Orange Light. I was going back and forth on this card. Like I said, with what little testing I was able to do, it can be a brick. So it felt like a little high roll to play like a bunch of fairies and then 3 Orange Light on top of that, because you never want to open just Orange Light. You want to open Orange Light plus one of these. So, but yeah, this card is actually really good though. So I think it's still probably necessary in the main deck. Being able to stop Abyss Dweller or any Bystials that your opponent might be playing is very powerful. And then you can use it to get these in the graveyard. And yeah, obviously to stop Dimension Shifter, which I was only able to do once, didn't draw it the other time. 1 Diviner. You don't really want to draw this card. Milling it is pretty cool though, because you can reborn it with Elf, use it to send whichever fairy you need access to, and then yeah, go into Barone, or you can send Orange Light to make it level 4 and go into Dweller. So yeah, I think Diviner's still pretty good to play at 1. I didn't play a Guido in the main deck. This is like I said, the deck list is kind of thrown together, so I actually put it in the side deck. I just didn't feel like milling your opponent's deck would be great, and then the hand effect is kind of mediocre compared to Kelbeck, so I put it in the side deck. But I think probably putting it in the main deck would be better. 1 Foolish, probably unnecessary, because the consistency of the deck is very high. I only bricked once, though unfortunately that was in round 8 when I needed to really win to be able to make it to day 2. But So probably don't need Foolish. Insuffusion broken, obviously. Yep, Terraforming. Then 3 copies of Brillo Rhino. There's not really much to say here, but being able to activate this effect to pop by using the Ishizu cards is extremely powerful. It lets you out Mystic Mine, among other things, and just disrupt your opponent in general. 2 Scream, so I put these back in. I know I said after the regional that it didn't seem super necessary, but actually I think I should play 3 of this now because, like I said, you want to get Medora and Keldo in the graveyard as early as possible, so having access to this card puts you ahead of your opponent pretty significantly. And the 500 attack boost is like, it comes up as well, especially in the mirror match, because you're attacking the same cards as what you have, so you have the 500 boost. And then also it gives you the additional option of being able to play more during your opponent's turn. Anytime they summon something, you get to mill 3 and go off. So yeah, I would play 3 of this actually. I found myself searching it off of kit quite a few times. So if I just had it in the opening hand, it would be better. 1 Select, 1 Crime. I think playing 1 is probably fine. Unfortunately, I didn't put Heartbeat in the main deck. I definitely should have done that. I don't know why I took it out. Probably, I guess, just wasn't really expecting to be able to need it. But the Graveyard effect, I think, is enough of a reason to put it in, so you could grab these back. And so that you don't have to like shuffle them back with using Medora and Keldo. Yeah, these cards are good. I always prioritize going for Scream. Because it's a counter trap, it's just insane. Then the board breakers / staples, 2 talents and 3 super poly. Talents underperformed pretty badly. I barely saw this card because I was playing 2. You know, that's kind of the problem with playing two of it. The problem is though, if you resolve it, it doesn't feel like it's high enough impact. Like if I use it like against an Ishizu tier player, it doesn't really matter which effect I use. If I draw 2, what am I going to draw into that's going to help me get out of the situation? Probably nothing. If they already resolved Dweller, I'm still going to be losing that game, most likely. If I look at their hand and rip 1 card, it doesn't feel high enough impact. So I might either cut this card or put it to the side deck and just keep it in going first. You don't want to draw it going second. Yeah, it underperformed. 3 Super Poly, mixed feelings about this one as well. The idea is to stop their Abyss Dweller by shotgunning this card, fusing their Lucalos and Dweller into Mud Dragon. I came up once, but I still lost that game because my opponent was already like really ahead. He had milled his Udora and Keldo, so just stopping Dweller wasn't enough to win the game. So maybe this could be something else. I would like to try probably the Mask Change 2 package with Dark Law. That might be interesting because it's like an automatic win button against the mirror match. I'll just go into the extra deck. 1 kit, never felt the need for more because you're able to shuffle it back at any time, obviously, and then obviously fusing into Rolkalos and Kaleidoheart. Mud Dragon, Garura, Dragostapelia. So Mud Dragon, the problem with my deck list is another one of the issues is not playing the Bystials. I didn't think that I would need those cards because I had Mudora and Keldo, which are like triple Bystials, but I think having those would be additional board presence that would let me go into Beatrice and also let me go into Mud Dragon, which is just insane in the mirror match. There were like quite a few times where I was like milling and was thinking to myself, wow, it would be really great if I had a Bystial in graveyard so I could fuse into Mud Dragon and then my opponent couldn't target anything, or I could go into Dweller easier. So yeah, I think I need to play Bystials in the main deck. I did take a look at some of the YCS profiles before making this video. I think out of the ones that I saw, I agree with Pack's list the most, just in terms of choices like maining Triple Scream. Yeah. And then 1 Baron. Made it a few times. I think it's just a really nice option to have. You can modulate levels with Diviner, which allows you to find a way to get to level 10 regardless. Or you can normal summon Orange Light, which I never had to do, but that's an option. This card should be banned. I absolutely hate it. Out of everything in the mirror match, I know I made a video about this like a couple months ago about the Ishizu tier mirror match, how it's going to be extremely long and overcomplicated And I think the card that really makes it unfun and just really toxic is Abyss Dweller. The match becomes Dweller Turbo. Even if you like orange light your opponent's Dweller, they can shuffle it back and make it again, which one of my opponents did to me, and I also did that to one of my opponents. It's just extremely toxic. I hate this card. It should be banned. One Baguska for the Flu matchup. I played against one Flu player. I made him, but I still lost because he had like Dark Ruler. So, unfortunate. Zeus. I think Zeus is a decent option to have. The idea with this is like, if you're going second into the mirror match, you want to like make Dweller, resolve Dweller, and then Zeus, and then you completely clear your opponent's board. Zeus is probably still okay to keep. IP, never ended up making. Wanted to be able to make sprint during my opponent's turn, or like go into Underworld Goddess, but realistically, the amount of times you want to make this card is very low. And then Elf, Sprint, Dark, all mandatory cards. Very self-explanatory. Then the one Underworld Goddess, like I mentioned with the previous deck profile, wanting to be able to out my own Sphere Mode, but it really never came to that point, because you don't usually have enough guests to make this after you commit your normal summon to making Sphere Mode. So yeah, I'd probably cut this card for something else. Well, I'd be playing Bestials, so I'd put in Beatrice or Wallow. Yeah. Then into the side deck, the one Agito. Yeah, like I said, it's just a weird. I throw the deck list together. It should be in the main deck. 3 Sphere Mode. If I'm going second into Sprite, it is a very powerful card. Well, it does make it hard to actually like OTK your opponent. It makes it pretty much impossible to OTK them actually when you do this, and that leaves them a lot of room for recovery, which is, you don't want to give them that chance. So Sphere Mode might not be the best idea. I did get to use it on a Flu player though, which is very funny. I think I bluffed Battle Phase. He activated Dreaming Town and then went into Apex Avian, so he had 3 monsters on board. Then I tribute summoned Sphere Mode, but I still lost that game sadly. Somehow. Yeah, and then Triple Droplet I think is just a decent card overall. Yeah, like I said, stopping Abyss Dweller is pretty self-explanatory. But it's just being able to dodge a lot of targeting effects and using it as a battle trick is just nice. One Called by the Grave. I put it in the side deck. This is like I think the first time I've ever played Called by not in the main deck, which I think is fine. Because like you want it for like D Shifter. In the mirror match, it's a little suspect. Maybe you want to hit orange light, but I don't think it's as great this format because they can actually dodge it. In fact, I dodged one of my opponents Called by the Graves by using Keldo to shuffle the monster that he targeted into the deck. So it's not as great, but just having it as an out for D Shifter is good. 2 Cosmics. I don't know if I ever actually drew these cards when I put them in. They're kind of mid, to be honest, in the mirror match. Like the heartbeat should be sufficient, and I should be playing this in the main deck. It's really just for Flu, but like really you care about the barrier statue the most. So yeah, I'd probably not play Cosmic. And then these cards, I think you know why they're here. I did get to use them once. It won me round 2, which is the mirror match. What I expected was that a lot of rounds were going to go into time, because even when we're both playing fast, it just naturally takes a long time to resolve all of these effects with both opponents milling and having a whole bunch of triggers. Like, we both played pretty fast, and yeah, my opponent, he attacked me. There were like a couple minutes left. He was up, this is in game 3, he was up a little bit on life points. He activates Instant Fusion. I chain Dogwood, so he loses 1,000, and then I gain 2,300, and then he like fuses into Rule Callus, so I gain 3,000 more. And then during my turn, I'm able to play a mill Scatter Shot, so I was able to win that one in time thanks to these cards. Yeah, not fun. I don't like the time rules, obviously. I wish these weren't necessary, but I think I'd probably keep them in. Yeah, so yeah, so my matchups, so I went 5 and 3, like I said. The first round was against Sprite Tri Brigade. I lost the die roll there, but I had Super Poly, so that just kind of wrecked his day. Round 2, that's the one that I just talked about. I won against the mirror match thanks to this card. And then round 3, got 0-2'd by Flu. That one was pretty rough. I should have won the first game actually because I won the die roll. I set up a full board, but I got like really greedy or like impatient with using my interruptions, and so I walked right into a Mystic Mine, and then yeah, that pretty much lost me the game. And then game 2, he opened Shifter. What are you gonna do? I made Baguska, but then he outed the Baguska. So yeah. Okay, round 4, played against Sprite. This was an interesting match because in game 3, my opponent actually hit me with Neko Main King. I didn't think people were actually going to be playing that card, but it went to, yeah, so he milled, or I milled my opponent's Neko Main King because of Kelbeck, and then we went straight to end phase. But since I had Scream on field, I was able to play a lot during my opponent's turn, so he still wasn't able to break my board, and I was able to shuffle his Beaver and, yeah, his Beavers back into the deck. Then round 5, I got lucky, no show. My opponent didn't come. I don't know why you wouldn't show up to round 5 of YCS, but he didn't come, so I got the free win there. We take those. Round 6, lost against the mirror match, die roll. Like I said, I didn't really have practice in the mirror match, so the game plan going second, I don't really have one. I needed to have Bystials, which I didn't have in my deck, so those would have helped definitely. Yeah, so I don't think I was really going to realistically win that one. Round 7, I beat a Flu player. Thankfully, I won the die roll. This time, he didn't open Shifter, at least not in game 1. And then he didn't have Bind either. And then game 3, yeah, I was going first. He didn't open Shifter again. So that's GG. Then I resolved Kelbeck, milled his deck, which turns off his D-Shifter for the rest of the game. And once you resolve Kelbeck against them, it's pretty much over. It's very hard for them to come back. Then round 8, sadly I lost against the mirror match. This is, if I had won this and then in the last round either won or drew, I would have made day 2. But yeah, lost the die roll. Game 1 was not going to be winnable in any way. But game 2, I was going first. I bricked really badly. This was the one time that I bricked. I drew like Havness, double Kelbeck. I think I started in Heartbeat, so I drew Heartbeat, which is not the one time I didn't want to draw it. And then like Orange Light, which was not enough to keep me in the game. Very bad hand, and yeah. Overall, yeah, I know people are talking about how this format is skillful. It is, but I wouldn't say it's fun because of the Abyss Dweller. It's just like a very over-centralizing card. When every match comes down to who resolves this card, who's able to turbo it out first, it's not fun. This card is very poorly designed. Yeah, when it's like this format is ruled by Abyss Dweller and D-Shifter, I think that's a problem that needs to be addressed. I wouldn't mind there being an emergency ban list, though I think that's copium. I don't think they'll actually do it. As we saw from the top 32 representation, this deck is tier 0. It had like, what, 26 of the 32 top cut slots, which is just crazy. It's not like anything that has ever happened while I've been playing the game, which has been about 2 years. Like, always in the past, there was like room for rogue decks to compete. At least Drytron was viable in the past, but now it's like they're just unplayable. These cards just make them like obsolete completely. So I don't think this format is good at all. I think it's horrible. About as bad as I thought it would be, maybe worse. Yeah, probably worse than I thought it was going to be. Yeah. What else? I don't know if I'm going to be playing the TCGS much in the next few months. I mean, there's not like any big events going on near me that I know of. Maybe there's like a remote duel YCS that I might try, but yeah, not too thrilled about how this is going. So, okay, yeah, I think that's all for my deck profile. Hopefully next time I play at a YCS, this was my first one, but hopefully next time I play, I have a better deck list and game plan for the matchups, and hopefully I make day 2 or even top if I play really well. Yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.